So my talk is on blockchains. There are 4 parts. A new trend has started, centralized to decentralized. So examples of centralized systems. Centralized system is a bank. If I want to give you $1, I will probably write a check on my bank. You will take it to your bank, and without that you cannot get the money. So you have to go to the bank. That is centralized. Currency. If I want to give you $1, only $1 can be printed by the US government. It cannot be printed by Saudi government. It cannot be printed by Indian government. So there is a central point where the control is, the US government. Right? Same thing for rupees, the Indian government. Stocks. If I want to buy a stock from you, you have one stock and I want to buy that stock, I cannot just buy it from you. I have to go to the stock exchange. You have to sell and I have to buy. Now all of these are central registries. At each of these places, somebody keeps track of, not in the case of currencies, but in the case of stocks and banks, somebody keeps a register which can easily be hacked and often hacked. Credit cards are very important. Another example, I want to buy something, I give you a credit card, you write down the number, and then you keep that because you want to be safe, and then that is the first thing that is hacked, because you have a register of all the credit cards. So in all cases, there is a third party to be trusted. This central party maintains a large database of information, and whenever there is a large database of anything, people want to hack it. And then they affect millions. So you have heard, how many companies have been hacked, how many countries have been hacked, and big companies like Sony and so on and so forth. The central point party is a single point of failure, and if the central party becomes bad, then you can't. You can't do anything. If suppose some bank employee or bank itself goes bad, you all lose. So that's why we don't like centralized system. So the trend is to make everything decentralized. You can send the money, now with this decentralized system, you can send the money to Russia or to China without the government knowing it, because there is no central point. The currency is global. This Bitcoin is global. It doesn't belong to a country. You can just get the Bitcoin and you can use it here and you can use it there, you can use it in USA. So this is the strength of it. And you can make a wedding contract, you can make a property contract, and so on and so forth. And the decentralized systems are more reliable, as we said, because they are fault tolerant, they are more secure, there is no single point, so they are very fast. So that's another thing. When you have a single point which controls everything, they charge you a lot of money. So the banks charge you money to, basically do the credit card transactions, and so on and so forth. And if there was no central point, then it would be much more cheaper, maybe even free in some cases, to make those contracts. And so there is no monopoly, right? So libertarians, the people who do not believe in the government, they decided to make a system which is totally decentralized with no central authority, and they found that the blockchains is the way to do it. Now this is called the 5th disruptive computing paradigm. The first was mainframe, which created IBM. Second was personal computer, which created Microsoft. Third was internet, which created anything from Netscape to Google. And the fourth was mobile and social, which created Apple and Facebook. And the 5th is coming. That is blockchains, and that's where people are believing that this is going to change the whole thing as to how we exchange money, how we do microfinancing, how do we contracts and machine economy and so on and so forth, how the IoT machines can pay each other. Now microfinancing is another interesting example. If I want to give you 10 paisa, actually the value is so low that probably you don't want it anyway, but I'm just saying that it is very difficult to do that because there is so many fees involved and some small amounts cannot be loaned or this. But in this currency, you can do anything you want. Now look at the blockchains interest from Google trend. If you go to Google and ask, how many people are searching for blockchains, you will find that not many people were searching in 2011. Really, the interest started somewhere here last year, and suddenly now it's going up, exponential growth. So you are not alone. If there are only 5 people who know blockchains, rest of you are not alone. I am in the same group that I did not know. Oh yeah, now you notice another interesting thing. That where are these people looking for? Most people are in Ghana. And the reason is they don't trust their government. And they need that whole thing where they can do anything without the government. And so you see South Africa, Singapore and all that. So basically, I found that interesting, that's why I put it here, that Ghana is where most of the action is for this. But anyway. And suddenly everybody notices this. And if you have attended many of my talks, you know that I always present a Gartner's hype cycle. And this is right here. Basically what this is that every year Gartner publishes a report that what is hot this year. And this is the report that the companies use to buy companies. This is the report that the venture capitalists use to invest into startups. And this is the report that we researchers use to find out what to work on next year. And here is the report for this year. So these technologies which are listed on the left, these are what they call, these are very new technologies and they are increasing in hype. Basically the ones that are at the bottom are really that they require a lot of work, and that is generally done by the students because there is no money to be made and we need a cheap labor, right? As the technology gets developed, they move up the chain, and at this point they become companies, startups, and the VCs start investing. So this is where the VC investment is. As the hype increases and they go to the top of the hype, then the big companies start buying. So this is where the big companies are buying these technologies. And as the technology becomes mainstream, then it comes here. At this point, everybody gets out because the technology goes to China. Why China? Because then the only differentiating factor is manufacturing cost. And you cannot do that in India or you cannot do that in USA. So then everything in that technology comes from China. So we researchers have to keep on the left side, and this is where the VCs invest, and you see the blockchain is almost there. On the top of the hype, by the way, is machine learning, and this conference is about machine learning. But next year that will move to the right, and blockchain will come to the top, and this conference will be about blockchains. Who knows? Right? But this is the thing. Interesting thing is that this was not there in 2005 and prior hype cycles. So Gartner publishes the report every year, but they didn't notice the word blockchain in 2015 and 2014 and 2013 and 2011. So suddenly in 2016 they put it on the top. So basically this is true. It is just coming up very fast. The hype is building. So this year VCs are going to invest $1 billion on blockchains. In 2015, they invested $500 million, and so on and so forth. You can keep going back, and you can see how it is going up. And there are lots of startups. I wouldn't go through that because there are thousands of them. So this is basically where people are just looking for some idea as to what can I do in this space so I get some money.